Good morning. It is a beautiful Sunday morning today, and we are going to take a look at some rear brakes. So, as you can see, or maybe not see, that guy is hung up and rubbing. So I think the caliper slides are stuck or something, but we're going to investigate. Alright, well, let's take a look at the front brakes. So, looks like we got some pad on the outer, and looks like we got some pad on the inner. What about this side? Yep, looking pretty good. So it looks like we just got to replace the rear. The one thing I will tell you about what I don't like about these Can-Ams, or well, at least this one in general, is so ordered what's called a brake pad kit. Yeah, it's basically one set of brake pads. So in order to get the brake pad kit, you need 3 kits to do this machine. Pretty stupid, huh? $40 for one set of brakes? That's a lot of money. I was like, we can do this brake. I did the rear brakes on this thing for under $200. Rotors, everything. A little ATV, you shouldn't have to do that. Well, but either way, enough complaining. Let's get into it. Yeah, we'll take this caliper apart, see what's going on with it, and see what it's going to take to fix this. I think it's just pads, but yeah, we'll see what happens. Well, it looks like you need a deep well 12, because yeah, it ain't going to fit. And I can't find mine, so looks like we're going to be using a wrench. How exciting. So after I get these two 12mm bolts off, one here and one on the bottom, we'll check back and look and see how the caliper. So it looks like the trick to get these off, the inner lining already fell out, but it looks like all you have to do is just push these slides in, and then you'll have enough space between caliper and the plate to work the pads out. But we're going to take these apart if we can and clean them and grease them and make them look and work a lot better than they did. So let's check back in a minute. Remember last video in replacing the rear brakes cable on the Honda 500, Foreman 500, I complained about not liking to replace zip ties. So what I typically do is, just in case you guys are as cheap as I am, and this is really difficult with one hand, but basically insert this behind here, and then once you do that, you can open the zip tie up. And as you can imagine, it's extremely difficult one-handed, but or seems to be getting it. So anyway, well, back to it. Alrighty, so back to the slides. So basically what we're going to do is we're going to slide these out, and these boots should just pull off like so. Hopefully they're not a pain to get back in. We're going to find out. Yeah, looks like they're a little different on both sides. So this one looks like it's inside, and there's a little sleeve on the outside to go over, and then it looks like it's the reverse right here. Oh, maybe not. So basically what we're going to do is we're just going to make sure that there's enough grease in here. I don't know why the slides are hanging up, because these obviously look pretty clean. So we're going to do something about this roughness here. I don't know how we're going to prevent that from happening, especially since we like to go through the mud. But we'll see how it turns out. This is also another good time to inspect your rotor. Alright. Yeah, this rotor looks good. I would assume that there's probably going to be, yeah, there's some grooves in here. I mean, you could probably knock that off with sandpaper, but alright, we're going to have a break from your normally scheduled programming. Just in. Came home last night and it was raining and found this in the sidewalk. Is it barf? Is it poop? I don't know. Why didn't somebody clean it up? Not sure. Alright, for grease, all I'm just going to use is some out of a tube, automotive. This is all I ever used, and it should be good. I'm just going to pack some of that in there. If you do too much, well, it's going to come out all over the place. So, let's do a little dab. Get that on there. And now, you got to figure out how to get this caliper in. But I got a little trick for you, so stay tuned. Alright, so here's my trick. You just take a vice grips and just set it and then just push it in. It makes things super easy. Ooh, that ain't good. Caliper leaking. Wonder if I should be opening up the reservoir. Probably should. Well, I guess that's a learning experience for you guys. Probably want to open the reservoir. Pushing the caliper back in. Otherwise the caliper seals are going to blow out. Suppose we'll see. Yep. And this trick works. I mean, this is a tiny little caliper, so not really that big of a deal to push it in. I probably could have pushed it in by hand, but when you start doing this stuff on trucks and cars and stuff, yeah, that's when you're going to need a little bit of a leverage. So, yeah, we'll get the we got these greased up, and we'll get the pads back in, and maybe get some of this stuff, get the dirt off, and clean it back up, and get it reassembled. Okay, so next thing we need to do is put the backing plate back on, or push these pins back in, which I've done. And now we've got this deal, put the pressure on the pads, and in the hopes that it's supposed to silence them. And yeah, look at these. Got a little bit of looks like copper in there. There's a lot of metal flake and stuff in there, so I'm assuming that this goes in like this. Let's push them down in here. Try not to use my fingerprints. We'll slide this out a little bit. Actually, we probably need to get the other one in too. Okay. Got that on. Slide this up just a hair so that other pad don't fall out. And now we should be able to put this back on. Slide these between the rotor, like so. Maybe. I might need to get a screwdriver or something in here. We'll see. But yeah, it needs to be pushed in a lot more. So doesn't look like the brakes bottomed out. So we're gonna push on this bad boy again, thinking that the piston kind of came out. So we'll see. Run this thing flat. Feels like it's bottomed out. And it is. So, well, we'll get the pads on here, and then we'll check back in, because I'm pretty sure you guys don't want to see me struggling. And as soon as I shut the camera off, it slid in just nice and easy. So, yeah. We are going to feed the bolts back through. Basically just the reverse order of taking it apart. And I noticed that this came off, so I'll have to deal with that. Other than that, we should be getting pretty close to being done for this little bit of a brake job. Yeah. So we'll button this back up, and then we'll take her for a little rip and see what happens. So we got her all buttoned up. These back in place. Same with this one. Plenty of pad in there now. Let's see how the brakes feel. Oh yeah, we got. Oh, there it's coming back. Oh yeah. Man, we got plenty of brake fluid. Yeah, so we'll just get the tires back on this thing. Go for a little rip. I will say though that this machine is pretty fantastic. It's got its little nuances where there's a little bit of problems, but for the most part, the thing turns and stops on a dime. I'm really impressed with this little 90. My kid really loves it too, so yeah. It even does pretty decent in the mud. Let's get them tires on, and then we'll go for a rip. Mention something else here too. Since looks like the previous owner cared about his kid too, he put a little thread locker on there. So we're gonna do the same. Just throw some of this stuff on. Ooh, that's a lot. Yeah. Get that on there, get the tires back on, and alright, as you guys are aware, I'm big on torquing, so it looks like front and rear wheel nuts look like we're at 30 foot-pounds. So, yeah, just throw that on the floor. Already hand tightened these bad boys. I don't have 3 arms, but basically I'm gonna hold Mr. Brake lever and torque them down. I don't have any small bungee cords like in the video from my Honda 500 brake cable replacement. All the cables are in the other machine, but yeah, we'll do the same trick. Just alright, I figured since we've got the machine up in the air, we can do a little instructional. So this goes for cars, trucks, four-wheelers, whatever. If you want to check to see if your bearings, your ball joints, and your tie rods are still tight, this is the way to do it. You just go side to side to check for the tie rods, and you should not feel any play at all. Up and down. And if you go slightly up and down, that's for the wheel bearing. Put a little bit more force into it, that's the upper and lower ball joint. I don't feel anything loose here. If you do feel something loose, just put your finger on the ball joint and have somebody do that. Once you get good enough, you can do it yourself. But same thing, lower ball joint, put your finger on it, move the tire up and down. For the tie rods, same thing, just grab the inner tie rod, or down here, hold the outer tie rod. Alright, the machine's all back together. Let's see if we can get it started. Turn the gas on. Turn the choke on. Key on. let this warm up here for a little bit. Here's what the brake pads looked like. Nice little rotor groove in there. Yeah, you don't want to let them go that long. Alright, I think she's warmed up. So let's go for a little rep. Chokes off. Oh yeah. Yeah, this thing's awesome. Runs like a champ.